smell that oil paint again. That is a very strong scent. Some people can't handle the smell of oil paint. I don't know, it doesn't bother me. It smells like, well, it smells like good things are about to happen, I guess is the way I would describe it. It smells like we're about to get to work. It smells like we're about to accomplish something big and important. Because that's all we do around here. That's what I like. It smells like we're about to paint, I guess is what I'm driving at. But I have to imagine you probably already figured that out. We're gonna just go ahead with the really important colors right now. And I'm gonna take the opportunity here to put some Prussian blue on the palette because we've been using Prussian blue all the time and it seems stupid to just add it later when we know we're going to use it, right? Like pretty much every time we've been doing these paintings or these sessions, we've inevitably gotten some Prussian blue out. So I'm just going to slap some on there right now and I think we'll be okay. Do we need anything else? You know what? Let's throw a little bit extra ultramarine in there. I think that we probably already have enough. But why not have some more? Alright, I think we're ready, guys. We're going to take just a very light amount of Prussian blue and a lot of white. And we're going to hopefully get a color that's pretty usable here. And when you look at that, we finally added a little too much white for a change. Usually it's the other way around, where we add way too much Prussian blue. And I have a funny feeling that's about the spot we're about to be. Yeah. See, I just added some more Prussian blue in there, and oh man, it immediately overpowered things. Is anyone surprised? I mean, if you know anything about Prussian blue, it's one of those colors that just really overbears things. Okay, so we're getting to about the same tone as the other side of the grid right there, that particular square. Okay, we're looking for something a little, I don't know how to describe this, a little yellower maybe? I don't know. Part of me wants to go a little yellower, part of me kind of wants to just keep this the way it is, but maybe we'll add just the smallest tinge of yellow in there. Just the smallest tinge. And then I think we'll give it just the right amount I think it needs. But we don't want to add too much because we want to keep this relatively light, relatively bright, and not too exciting. There's a little bit of red we're going to throw in there too, just a very, very light amount. This is mostly blue that we're playing around with right now, mostly blue. But we got a little bit of alizarin, a little bit of yellow, and that's mostly it. And now I think we're ready to start painting here. Alright. Let's keep track of where we're going. And it's going to begin right up here. Okay? Just to remind you, this does have a little bit of cadmium yellow, a little bit of alizarin crimson in there. Okay, so we're going to be very, very careful here, but we're also going to look how bright this is. Like, even despite dulling it down a little bit, like when you start putting these colors in context, it really is incredible just how bright they can be still. Like, sometimes the colors are just electric. Well, part of it is just context, and part of it is, well, sometimes colors are a lot brighter than you think they are. I've always had a soft spot for Prussian blue. I've had a soft spot for Prussian blue for years. I've used it. God, what was the first time I used it? I think the first time I really used it was when I encountered it in this book that was talking about the old masters and stuff, because I remember being pretty obsessed with the old masters for a good long while. And eventually I got over that, but then I never really let go of Prussian blue. The two blues that were listed in the book were French ultramarine and Prussian blue. So I guess I just naturally latched onto those, and I don't know if I've ever really let go of them ever since. Now, I played around with other colors. I've done a lot with phthalo blue. I've done a lot with cerulean blue. I've done a lot with pretty much every blue you can think of, and there's not that many because there's not that many blues to begin with. Like, really, go out and look. There's not that much. Not really. Blue is very underrepresented in terms of what's available to artists. Like, you think about it, there's Indian Throne blue, there's ultramarine, there's cobalt blue, there's cerulean blue, there's phthalo blue, Prussian blue. That it does sound like a lot, but when you start really digging, there's indigo, which is not permanent at all, so artists don't really use it unless, well, if they value their art, they don't use it. This is going to be a pretty simple grid today, I think. Yeah, this isn't going to be all that complicated. There's going to be some bits and bobs here that are a little bit interesting, but it's going to be very simple, I think. I don't think there's going to be too many surprises today, thankfully. Thankfully. Yeah, we like it easy around here. No, it's nice to not have to do anything too crazy for a change, especially when we had some very busy grids recently. It's nice to just kind of, I don't know, take the edge off. So, I think we'll get out our sap green here and add a little bit in there. And I wonder if we have any sap green left over still. It's going to be a little bit dried over because sap green contains a phthalo color, and phthalo colors have a habit of drying very quickly. There's some left over, but not too much. So I guess we'll have to put some new stuff on there. Yeah, we'll have to put some new stuff on there. That's alright. Well, we didn't bring these colors not to use them, you know? Okay. I've been looking at some other brands of sap green and all that, and I've been looking at, I always like to keep track of what other brands are doing other than the one that I'm using right now, because I like to just have my options available, because when you're an artist you always have to be very wary of when your favorite colors are going to be discontinued, go out of style, stuff like that. It helps to choose colors that are pretty safeguarded against being discontinued, like colors that are used a lot in industry or a lot in, well, you know, industries like automotive industry, medicine, industrial, all kinds of different stuff like that. Odds are they're probably never going to go away. Like Prussian blue, it's never really going to go away because it's used in too many things. And ultramarine, it's not going anywhere because there's no color quite like it. It's used in just about everything. And phthalo, that's another good one to choose because phthalo's never going anywhere. But if you choose a very special color or very select colors, sometimes they get discontinued, and that can be a problem if you rely on a color a lot. Fortunately, I choose a lot of colors that don't really have much of a risk of being discontinued, so I feel pretty good about that. Alright, so what we're doing now, we're using a little bit of sap green. We're also using the cadmium yellow deep to mix up a color that's a little bit a little bit neutral, very ochreish. But I think we'll have something here in just a second as soon as I've got this cadmium yellow. This is mostly going to be sap green, but it's going to have a little bit of the cadmium yellow in there. Now it's worth noting that my cadmium yellow deep is more of a light cadmium orange. They just call it cadmium yellow deep, and I don't know why, because it's not yellow at all. it's really orange. It's just a very light orange. It's like a orange. It's a yellowish orange. That's the gist of it right there. A yellowish orange. What else is there to say about it? Not much. Still, it's a pretty color. I usually like to have something that's a little bit more definitively yellow than the color that I've been using. This is the color I've been using right here. Like, you can't see really what's in the tube there. I guess I could just take off the cap. But yeah, there it is. And it might look fairly yellow, but it's really just orange with a hint of yellow to it. They call it cadmium yellow deep, but you know, if you start adding white to it, it becomes very obvious that it's a cadmium orange. So, just FYI there, guys. Thought I'd tell you all about that. What can I say? Alright, I'm going to add some more whites to this mix that I've got going on here. It's going to be a pretty... I guess you could say it's a pretty neutral mix. I don't know. Let's just put it in. I feel like I'm going to add something a little bit lighter here in a bit. Either that or I'm going to add a little bit, something a little bit more violet in. I don't know yet. This feels like a very light color right now. It's very attractive. It's unexpected. We're going to add, I think I want to get some color that's a little bit more of this ochre kind of orange, kind of like we've been using, and that's mostly cadmium yellow deep with some sap green in it. Just FYI on that one. That's what I'm doing there. Let's take this light color that we have going and just bring it up in here. Just a little bit. Nothing too crazy there. Now let's bring it down. Ooh. Let's bring it down to about yay here. Okay. I think I'm going to add some violet to this. Yeah, let's add some violet, guys. We'll do that by taking what we have on the palette knife, maybe a little bit more off to the side too, and we'll just add a little bit of alizarin crimson and ultramarine on that. Okay. And this is going to neutralize the mix, obviously, because when you add violet to sap green, what happens is that the violet neutralizes the sap green. That's what you want. Let's see what this looks like. This is going to be about the right color. I don't know, let's add a little bit more blue to that. Beautiful. I think this is what we're looking for. There's another shadow color I'm going to go for in a little bit here, but I think this is going to work. There. That's nice. It's a very handsome dark color. Wish I had a little bit more mud mix on hand right about now. That would be nice. Alas, I don't seem to have any. What a crying shame. Well, I suppose if nothing else, we can just mix up a little bit more of that color. There's one more shadow color I really want to get today besides what I'm painting right here. Color I'm painting right here. Let's the color I'm painting right here feels right. Yeah, a little sap green. Oh, this in crimson. I've been thinking about how this is going to go after we're done painting this preliminary sketch. I don't even know if that's like the right term for a preliminary sketch. It doesn't feel quite right. After we're done getting all the proportions all ironed out. Like I'm painting a lot of guidelines here and stuff for myself to start painting some more complex ideas later on. And I'm really looking forward to that. But I'm hoping that, maybe once we get things all settled, once everything's all figured out, we can start concentrating on getting some more interesting relationships happening, and maybe we can. Excuse me, I gotta paint this. Every so often I get distracted by the act of painting, which is probably a good thing considering, it's a painting and all. I'm always looking for fresh color relationships. I'm always looking for exciting things to try with juxtaposing colors next, putting colors next to each other. Feels like I just can't get this blue enough for some reason. I don't know, man. Feels like this is mostly like a job for ultramarine here. Even though I don't know. Okay. I just enjoy pushing my luck with color. I like trying things. I like trying to make interesting things happen. And I don't try to think too hard about whether we're painting an impressionist painting. I don't try to think too hard about what style it is. I just try to paint things that feel right. And hopefully I can get that. Hopefully I can make that happen. Hopefully it all feels right in the end. I don't know. If it doesn't, I suppose we'll just keep painting it until it does feel right. Alright. Let's take I'm going to add this violet into this mix that I made earlier. This mix of sap green and cadmium yellow deep, aka cadmium orange light. That's the proper name for it. I don't know. they didn't really, the brand that made this paint that I use, there were some odd color choices in hindsight. I think I told you guys the brand is discontinued now, but in hindsight, a lot of strange colors. Not necessarily a bad thing, because I mean, I like colors that take big risk. I like color choices that are odd. This line, it felt like a line that was a little stuck in the 70s in some sense, because a lot of the color choices you would have seen a long time ago. I remember at the end of their existence, which was still pretty close to the beginning of our relationship, I told them, you guys really need to update the line. You guys need like a few new color choices. This line is looking a little dated at this point, and you know they were pretty okay with the idea of increasing the number of colors and or just inserting some new colors into the line, but they never got around to it because the business got sold, so that never happened, unfortunately. But you know, we were still on friendly terms after the whole thing. No one was mad with each other. It's just that the business got sold and everyone moved on to other things. They were nice enough to give me a very generous portion of paint so that I wouldn't have to buy any paint for a very long time. So I've been using this ever since. And it's, looking back, it's too bad that they didn't have more of a reputation for oil paint than they did. I think a lot of people just turn their nose up at the brand, even though if you go and use it, I've had very good results with what I've been doing here for a little while now. And anyone who's been watching this can very plainly see that there's nothing really wrong with the paint I'm using. Now with my technique, maybe. There. I'm going to put a little bit of blue into this. There. There's not too much more I think that we have to do here, but I keep saying that, and then we keep finding new things to have a go with, don't we? Yeah, sure seems that way. Okay. That's probably about fine for right now. That little slice of heaven. Tell you what. Let's concentrate on that ochre color that I mentioned earlier. And we're going to mix that up with, again, some sap green and the cadmium yellow deep. Oh, I just can't get enough of that mix recently. That mix is really... Every time we go into the blanket, the sheet, it seems like the cadmium yellow deep is just working with the sap green to carry the entire painting. I know it's not really the way it is, but sometimes it feels that way. Let's make sure we add some white to this. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Yeah, we need to add some more white. Wait. No, I still have some white paint. I thought I had to have more white paint, but no, we're good. Alright, so check out what I've mixed up here. It's looking a little green still. That sap green really overpowers things, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Well, what I want this to be a little bit more yellow because I want it to be more of an ochre color because I want to have this, color, this pushing the blue portion of things forward a little bit by nature of having the color a little duller when it's put up against it, because if it's too bright, it's just gonna, well, it's not gonna look as good, because when it's too bright, it takes a lot of the impact out of the color. If both colors are the same intensity, it's just not gonna have the same, it won't have the same impact. It won't look as good. So we have to be a little judicious about the way we do things. Okay. Adding some white to that. And let's start thinking about what we're going to do here. Let's add, now that we have this all figured out, I think, quote unquote figured out, we can start getting a little bit creative here, which we were going to do anyway. All right. Now you see what I mean? How this is looking a little neater as we go. That's better. What we could do is start messing around with some of the piling on what we're doing here with the blanket, adding shadows and what have you. I don't know. It's an idea. Let's add some over here. Ooh, that's actually real nice. It's not bad at all. Alright, so maybe this orange color is just what the doctor ordered. I'm adding this into some of the mixes that I've made here. And we should be careful because there's a chance we might overdo this. I don't know. I have a habit of overdoing things sometimes. And yeah, I'm gonna overdo it, aren't I? I might. Alright, honest. Last thing I think I'm gonna do is just maybe add a couple of little dark spots here and there inside the blanket off to the side. Overall, I think the blanket that we've painted so far looks pretty fine. This stretch of shadow feels somewhat disconnected, but it's not particularly offensive, I don't think. It just feels like it's, I don't know, it feels like it's a little too dark when I look at it, but we could probably fix it at some point. I had to turn on the brightness a little bit there. The brightness was a little overbearing. I was kind of surprised by that. if I should be doing this. I don't know. It's one of those cases of, I don't know, am I adding too much or am I adding just enough? I don't know. Let's try something real quick. I'm going to add some ultramarine and alizarin crimson. And I'm going to make this a very light violet. Very, very light. It's going to be mostly ultramarine to the alizarin crimson, I think. Okay. I think we got this. Almost. Sometimes I wonder why I add any alizarin crimson at all to this, because it seems like it's just mostly ultramarine. It's mostly white and mostly ultramarine, with a very light suggestion. A very light suggestion of alizarin. Okay, I think I finally found it. Sometimes these colors are very difficult to get. Yeah, I like this color better. This is more like it. That is way more appealing. It's not perfect, but I am liking this a lot better than I was. Specifically because it's not as dark now. Let's maybe add a little bit over here too. I don't know. Yeah. That's good stuff, guys. Okay. I think we could probably let that be as it is for right now. Let's mix ourselves up some mud, guys. We need some fresh mud. Why do I sound so excited about the prospect of fresh mud? I don't know. Probably because the color is just so, when you get down to it, it's just so useful. I need to scrape up some of this old stuff, I think, soon. Because that old mud is, I don't know, it's alright. But I think it might be getting in the way a little bit. But look at that. Whenever you get mud, usually it's pretty, well, it depends on what colors you're using, but the colors I'm using, most often the mud that I make up is going to be tinged violet. Of course, today we've had kind of a lot of yellow colors going on, so today it's very, very earthy yellow, which is still a pretty useful color. those neutrals are always just ever so useful. There's always something you can do with them. Okay. That's pretty good. I think that's about as much color as we're going to get today. So, a pretty easy session today, I'd say. Yeah, nothing too crazy going on, although, I don't know, that one shadow is going to drive me a little bit crazy. I think it's not quite right yet, but hopefully we'll be able to get it right in the very near future. I'm just counting on these proportions carrying most of the painting at this point. Nah, we still got lots of stuff to do, and we'll figure it out together. Alright, I'll see you later, guys. You have a good day, everyone.